Now, the recipe that I use is the artisan bread recipe for the Big Family Homestead, but I do it a little differently than they do, just because I don't mix it all by hand. I find that I can't get all of the clumps of flour mixed up, so I do mine in a mixer. So I'm going to add my water in here, and the recipe is super simple. So there's the 4 cups of water in there, and then I'm going to put my salt. And I've got 2 tablespoons of kosher salt. And then 2 tablespoons of yeast. And that all goes in this bowl. And like I said, you can do this all by hand. It's supposed to be a no-knead bread recipe. I do find that for me, I have to knead it just a little bit because I can't get all of the, like, it'll have clumps of flour in it. So I will, oh, stink. I will spill all of the yeast everywhere. Oh, so I cleaned up my mess from spilling a quarter of the jar of yeast all over the counter. And in that time, the yeast in the bowl has had a chance to proof. So it's gotten where it's gotten a little bubbly and stuff. So what we're going to do is we're going to put, actually I'm going to take this off because it's easier to pour the flour in. We're going to take our bread flour, and you can use all-purpose flour. I find that it doesn't get quite as, it's a little more dense that way. So this is a 2-cup measuring cup, and I'm going to start with about 6 cups of flour in here. Now today is humid and it looks like it's going to rain, and every time that I make bread on days like today, my bread tends to be a little flatter. So those are the days where I actually knead the bread by hand a little bit and add a little more flour into it to give it a little more stability. So now this container here is what I'm going to use to put my bread in to rise. So we're going to put that out of the way right now and put our hook on. So I've got 6 cups of flour in there, and I'm just going to turn it on low and let it stir it all together. And then I'm going to take it down and I'm going to scrape the sides down to make sure everything gets kind of incorporated before I start adding the last 2 cups of flour. And you want to make sure you get around that nub at the bottom of these KitchenAid mixers. That's the one place where things tend to collect. And add my last 2 cups of flour. And like I said, today's a little humid, so I'm probably going to add a little bit more, but I'll do that when I knead the bread. Alright, so I'm going to show you. This is still pretty liquidy and really sticky. So, and all of the flour hasn't gotten mixed up yet. So I'm going to take this spatula and I'm going to kind of mix it up a little bit. But this is too wet right now, so it's going to need a little more flour in it. So I'm going to just add a little more flour to it. And mix it up here. Because the way it is right now, it will not make a good loaf. So we're going to need some more flour in there because it's still really, like I said, it's pretty humid out today. So that always, I find with bread and with candy making is the other one. If I try to make toffee and it's raining outside, it turns out bad every single time. Caramel is the same way. I have an issue with caramel when it's wet, rainy, or humid. Usually it's not humid because I make caramel in the winter at Christmas. It's usually not super humid then, but so we're gonna flour the countertop, and we're gonna turn this out, and I'm gonna knead it for a while because, like I said, just because today is so humid, it's gonna need a little help. All right, so I'm now finishing up with the bread dough. It still is slightly sticky, but not nearly as sticky as it was before. And like I said, because of the humidity in the air, it tends to get that way. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our empty flour container that we have here, because I buy flour in 50-pound bags over at Costco because I make that much bread. I can go through 50 pounds of flour in about a month. So we're going to let this sit for 2 hours and let it raise. All right, so our bread is finished rising. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a little flour and we're going to sprinkle it kind of on the top so it doesn't stick. And we're going to kind of pull it away from the edges. And what I do is I make about 4 loaves of bread and I place them on here. So we're going to put a little more flour in there because it is kind of Like I said, this dough is a little sticky. All right, and then what I do is I just kind of roll it in that flour because it's going to need some more flour, and then you're going to shape it into a loaf shape. And if it sticks to your hands, just add a little more flour to it, and then you just kind of continue to shape it into that kind of loaf shape. And we're going to place that there just like that. I now have 4 little loaves of bread, and these are going to raise, or probably going to, I don't know, triple in size about, but we're going to let them go for 40 minutes. Now these, I can tell already, these are going to be flatter. Just because of the humidity, they're not going to rise quite as high as they usually do. I usually have better luck with my bread in the fall and winter time than I do in the summertime because of the humidity here. All right, so the one thing that I forgot to tell you was that I preheated the oven to 450, and we're going to let these raise, like I said, for about 40 minutes. But I also put a little pan of water in there, so it makes this nice crust on this bread. And I have a baking stone in there, which is the bane of my existence because I always forget that it's in there, and then I go to put something else in, and it's like, so. But my baking stone is in there, and I actually lowered the rack down because I find that with the baking stone that sometimes the bottom doesn't get as done as the top does. So I had to lower it 1 notch so that it doesn't like get too brown on the top and not brown enough on the bottom. All right, so our bread is done raising. I put the slits in the top of it. Again, it's not going to get very high just because of the humidity today, but we're going to put an egg wash on it. And then we are going to put sesame seeds on it because my family likes the sesame seeds on it. All right, so I've got my egg wash on it. And this here, the leftover egg wash, I'm going to just pour into the dog's bowl. She loves that. I actually dropped an egg earlier and she ate we call it eating the sneeze. And she licked it up off the floor. So now all I have to do is go back and wipe it up with a damp cloth. So we're going to put our sesame seeds on here. And I got this big container. If you have a GFS, which is a Gordon Food Service around you, that's where they sell these. Any like restaurant supply store probably would have them. You could check Sam's Club or Costco, but I've not seen them at Costco. I don't know about Sam's Club though. All right, so there we go. Right now we are going to put, you can see I have my baking stone in here, and we are going to scoot this out. And then I'm going to grab our bread, and we're going to take it with the parchment paper and just slide it onto that baking stone. Just like that. And then we're going to leave this to pull it back out with later. So let me scoot that back so that bread's not sliding off the end there. All right. For about 30 to 35 minutes. If it needs a little longer, we'll give it a little longer. That is some awesome, awesome bread. Like I said, I got that recipe from Krista over at the Big Family Homestead. I will try to link the video that had that recipe in it down below. If I can't, then I'll just go ahead and put the recipe down below. But it is awesome, awesome bread. My kids won't eat anything else. All right, so the timer has gone off for our bread. And like I said, I use this here to scoot the parchment paper off that baking stone. And I try not to burn myself, but I'm not always successful at it. It's not even like small. Okay, so I managed to burn myself twice. Awesome! All right, so this is our bread, and actually I probably needed that. We're going to use this because this just came out of the oven. It is super duper hot. I burnt myself twice in the oven. So we're going to pull these apart and set them on the cooling rack to dry. And those look wonderful. The bottoms are nice and done. The tops are nice and brown. There we go. We'll just do that and let those cool. And then I've got one more right here because they all 4 won't fit on that same thing. So we'll put that guy there. Now, what's going to be hard is I have to now keep my 3 boys from trying to pick apart my bread. and they will come in. They have these, it's like, I don't know what to call it, except fresh baked bread antenna, and they go up, and then they will all come flooding in here going, Mom, can I have a piece of bread with butter on it? And I'll have to look at him and say, fine. So we usually have one loaf that is gone in like a half hour. So, but their dad's not here, so it won't be that much bread gone. I think maybe it's time to cut them some bread. So, wait. What are you two doing? Go put that back. No, you can't eat the whole loaf. Put it back. I will cut you a piece.
What? I don't have anything. I don't.
Put it back. I'll cut you a piece. What did you get, Jack?
Bread.
Bread? You can't put the whole stick of butter on it.
What?
You can't put the whole stick of butter on it. All right. So, Miles, what did you get?
Bread.
Bread. Is it your favoriteest thing ever?
Other than Harry Potter, yes.
Oh, okay. So, Max got his piece of bread, too. He says it don't need no stinking butter.